Rachel Zegler as Snow White, and it's been interesting casting because this woman is extraordinarily woke, as everyone is in Hollywood, but she's woke in a way that's quite deranged. Like, you get...
I think it's fair to say that no one on the right side of America can stand the star of this movie, and yet, Christian, you've seen the movie, and it appears that the filmmakers coddled together enough salvageable material.
Snow White is officially Disney's biggest box office disaster of all time. And with
Thanks to the latest buzz, Rachel Zegler has officially gone dark, just days after Disney reportedly demanded financial restitution for the massive Snow White failure. Amid this drama, the troubled actress has apparently disappeared from the public eye, not just in the figurative sense. Sources now reveal that she hopped on an international flight, landing in Dubai. This move is sparking major questions about what she might be fleeing from and what she's trying to shield herself from.
Say, if I'm going to stand there 18 hours in a dress of an iconic Disney princess, I deserve to be paid for every hour that it is streamed on.
The industry is abuzz, and Disney is reportedly furious. Rachel Zegler's sudden disappearance comes right after a wave of intense backlash, viral outrage, and behind-the-scenes legal battles. Insiders suggest Disney executives were already considering their options, from invoking morality clauses to withholding bonus payments. But then, Zegler quietly disappeared from Hollywood. No press, no sightings, just a sudden vanishing act. Now, people are questioning whether this is more than just a PR retreat. Could it be a calculated escape? What's really behind the timing? The speculation is fueled by the fact that her departure came shortly after reports revealed Disney had held an emergency meeting to assess her potential role in the Snow White flop.
What has been the reaction to Disney's latest expensive own goal?
Well, the reaction has been absolutely horrible. It is the worst box office from a Disney live action remake that they've ever done, and Dumbo didn't do very well, but this is actually performing much lower than Dumbo. And this couldn't happen to a better person, in my opinion. Rachel is literally the star of a Disney movie, and she acts like she's some sort of victim, and that's the sort of mentality that is just poisoning people's minds. Like, she acts like her life is so bad, considering she's a multi-millionaire actress living out every struggling actress's or actor's dream, and she just kind of, hand waves it like she's still some sort of victim, when in reality, she should.
Dwarfs, it's ridiculous. He got his money and then kicked the ladder down behind him.
The thing that really shocks me about this story, Disney and all these media companies, they invest hundreds of millions of dollars into these projects, right? Have they ever thought about maybe like a little bit of vulnerability study, opposition research, that sort of thing before you go and hire some Zoomer who's a lunatic?
Yeah, but they're all lunatic. I mean, how many people in Hollywood, maybe not to this extent, but...
Some believe the studio is gearing up for legal action, while others speculate that private negotiations are already in progress. However, Zegler's silence, combined with her unexpected move overseas, is leaving fans wondering, is she simply avoiding the media, or is she trying to dodge something much bigger, like lawyers? Here's where it gets even more suspicious. While Rachel's team insists she's just taking time to reset, social media detectives are uncovering clues that suggest something more. Deleted comments, private jet tracking, and a scrubbed itinerary. With no word on when or if she plans to return. The questions are growing by the hour. Has Rachel Zegler really gone off the grid? Or is she secretly plotting an escape from Hollywood's biggest brand? Disney, reportedly in full damage control, is facing a situation spiraling faster than anyone could have predicted. After the disastrous performance of the highly anticipated Snow White remake, some sources estimate it could lead to a jaw-dropping $250 million loss. High-level executives are scrambling behind the scenes, and one of the most explosive rumors is that Disney might be pressuring Rachel Zegler to personally contribute to the financial fallout.
The film that she was remaking. Take a listen to her talk about the modern twist that they were going to give Snow White.
You said you were bringing a modern edge to it on stage. What do you mean by that? I just mean that it's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be, and the leader that her late father told her that she could be if she was fearless, fair, brave, and true. And so it's just a really incredible story for, I think, young people everywhere to see themselves in.
Snow White is running for president.
I'm launching my campaign.
The outrage is growing. According to multiple insider accounts, the studio held a private, closed-door meeting following the film's opening weekend. The main topic of discussion? Whether Rachel Zegler's controversial behavior leading up to the release could be seen as a breach of her contract. Her press tour was filled with moments that raised eyebrows, from dismissive remarks about the 1937 original to political statements that alienated a significant portion of the fan base. These weren't just PR blunders. They might have violated specific PR clauses in her contract. If the rumors are true, Disney could be considering options like clawing back bonuses, canceling back-end deals, or even seeking partial reimbursement. One anonymous source who attended the meeting quoted an executive as saying, "She burned down a billion-dollar brand with her own words. It's a harsh judgment, but according to insiders, it received silent nods from others in the room."
The original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so.
Okay.
There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her.
Yeah.
Weird. And then it became like, I will elbow everyone out of the way to play the part. That people will assume is a love story just because like we cast a guy in the movie, right. Andrew Burnap. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby.
What's perhaps most surprising is that Zegler's public apologies, which seemed to retract some of her earlier comments, may not have come directly from her. Sources close to the situation suggest that Disney's internal PR team took control of the damage control, carefully crafting the apology and instructing her to post it on her social media. The language, tone, and timing all seemed too well rehearsed, leading to suspicions that the apology was more about maintaining appearances than expressing true regret.
Today, there was an in-depth piece, like a behind-the-scenes piece. Was it Variety? Talking about how they've been in a full meltdown about this girl for a couple of years now, and how they had her tweet out like a little, "Yay, Snow White, can't wait, so excited, I love to play her." And she did it and got like millions of views, and they were like, "Good job, Rachel." And then she, like minutes later, followed it up with, "And never forget, free Palestine." This is just like a few months after 10/7. It was like, it hadn't even been a year. And
in fact, some fans felt the apology came across as corporate, almost robotic, lacking the emotional depth or authenticity expected from a personal statement. There were no signs of vulnerability, no acknowledgement of specific mistakes, and no real connection with the disappointment felt by Disney's longtime fans. It read more like a press release than a heartfelt apology, and that didn't sit well with viewers who were already feeling alienated. Social media exploded with speculation, with threads popping up analyzing the sentence structure, comparing the apology to standard crisis PR templates, and pointing out similarities with language used in past controversies handled by major studios. Hashtags trended, but not in support, in criticism. Many users felt the post only confirmed their belief that Zegler was being controlled by corporate handlers instead of owning her own narrative. Whether or not the speculation is true, one thing became clear. The damage wasn't undone. Instead of easing the outrage, the apology seemed to deepen the divide. For Zegler, it only reinforced the idea that she was more of a manufactured face of the franchise than a real relatable voice for the fans. And for Disney, it may have backfired, strengthening the belief that the studio was more concerned with spin than accountability. Behind the scenes, industry rumors suggest that Zegler is devastated by the situation. Insiders claim she's been brought to tears several times, struggling to understand how everything unraveled so quickly and how the narrative turned so harshly against her. Whispers indicate her team is working tirelessly to manage the fallout, but morale within her camp is reportedly at an all-time low. Just months ago, she was poised to become one of Disney's rising stars, with talk of spin-offs, franchise tie-ins, and a massive marketing campaign. Zegler was expected to be at the center of a new era for Disney's live-action strategy, with analysts pegging her as one of the decade's most promising young actresses. on the brink of international stardom. But now the tone has shifted drastically. Some insiders describe the current moment as a reputation freefall, with Zegler scrambling to salvage her professional relationships and what's left of her public image. Rumors suggest that even her team is divided, with some pushing for a strong comeback narrative, while others are quietly exploring long-term damage control strategies, possibly even laying low for years. In just a matter of weeks, Zegler's Hollywood dream has reportedly turned into a case study in PR mismanagement. The emotional toll, combined with career uncertainty, seems to be weighing heavily on her behind the scenes. And with Disney still facing backlash and potential financial repercussions, Zegler's role in this high-stakes drama is far from over. The Snow White remake was supposed to be a slam dunk, a massive budget, nostalgic source material, and a fresh take. Disney expected it to follow the success of hits like Beauty and the Beast or Aladdin, confident that the legacy of the original animated classic, combined with modern storytelling, would make it a box office sensation. Initial projections were optimistic, with some analysts expecting a record-breaking opening weekend. But critics say the final product strayed too far from what audiences were hoping for.
Disney. And as you can see here, it has only just barely started to make over $100 million in the worldwide box office. This movie is going to be losing Disney hundreds of millions of dollars, and they deserve every bit of loss they get from this film. And as we saw last weekend with the first weekend for Snow White, Rachel Zegler was coping real hard. She, of course, was saying things like on Instagram, like, "Thank you so much for making this the #1 movie in the world, guys." And well, this time around with the second weekend, her approach is completely different, okay? She is having a hilarious meltdown on Instagram.
The new version of Snow White reportedly strayed too far from what made the original beloved. Instead of honoring the tone, charm, and emotional heart of the 1937 film, it tried to reinvent too much, alienating longtime fans in the process. Audiences were turned off by the changes to character arcs, missing iconic moments, and what some described as a lack of magic. Many felt Zegler's press appearances were actively hostile toward the classic tale. It wasn't just what she said, but how she said it. Social media became a battlefield. Zegler's comments about the prince being a stalker and the original Snow White being weird stoked the fire, painting her as someone who disrespected Disney's legacy. What could have been seen as a thoughtful modernization came across as tone-deaf and arrogant. Hashtags like Boycott Snow White began trending, and every new interview only seemed to make things worse. Fans weren't just upset, they felt insulted. Commentary videos, fan edits, and reaction compilations flooded platforms like YouTube and TikTok, dissecting each moment of Zegler's interviews. The sentiment shifted from disappointment to outright outrage, with viewers accusing her of being out of touch and disrespectful. Both legacy fans and newcomers expressed frustration, saying the film felt like it was made by people who didn't understand or appreciate the original. The backlash hit a boiling point as old political posts from Zegler resurfaced, including a tweet criticizing Trump supporters and wishing them ill. This reignited debates and further divided potential audiences for Disney, whose films depend on broad four-quadrant appeal. It turned into a marketing nightmare. What was supposed to be a blockbuster remake became a cultural flashpoint, with Rachel Zegler at the center of the storm. Despite efforts to rein in the situation, scaling back press opportunities, limiting red carpet exposure, and cutting interviews short, the damage was already done. The film's opening weekend numbers were far below the studio's projections, leaving executives stunned and scrambling for answers. Hopes that international markets would help soften the blow quickly vanished as global box office returns were tepid at best. What was expected to be a worldwide sensation barely sparked any major excitement overseas. By the end of its first week, industry analysts were already labeling it one of Disney's biggest live-action misfires of the past decade. The numbers weren't just disappointing, they were historically low for a film of this size, budget, and brand recognition. Compared to other Disney remakes, Snow White's performance landed at the bottom of the pack, failing to capitalize on nostalgia or star power. Trade publications ran headlines calling the film a financial cautionary tale, signaling that the fallout was far from over. And now the finger-pointing had begun in earnest. Some insiders are now pointing fingers at the marketing team, claiming the promotional materials were all over the place, unclear, and didn't capture the essence of the original Snow White magic. Others are focusing on the script and creative direction, arguing that the film strayed too far from the fairy tale fans know and love, alienating longtime Disney supporters. There's even quiet frustration directed at the executives for greenlighting such a drastic reimagining of a legacy film without testing it properly. But as the fallout continues, more and more of the blame seems to be falling squarely on Rachel Zegler's shoulders. Whether or not this is fair, her prominent role during the film's rollout and the controversy around her comments have made her the most visible target. And according to industry whispers, Disney seems eager to distance itself from their embattled lead actress. Some believe this is a strategic move to protect future releases, while others think it's a sign that things have gotten too messy to fix. Rumors are now swirling that several future projects, which had previously considered Zegler for leading roles, are now rethinking their decisions. Producers are reportedly worried about the backlash she's attracting and whether audiences can move past the Snow White debacle. As for Zegler, she's gone completely silent. No interviews, no public appearances, and no statements since the initial fallout. Her sudden and unexplained retreat from public life, combined with rumors of her international escape, has only fueled the frenzy. Commentators are now wondering, is her silence part of a calculated PR move, or is she retreating from an overwhelming situation? Sources claim she's gone totally off the grid. No social media updates, no sightings, and no leaks from her usually vocal team. Some speculate she's under strict instructions from her legal team to avoid further public engagement, especially if legal action is being considered behind the scenes. Others think she's just taking time to regroup with close friends or family. Fans are divided. Some believe the backlash is too harsh, and that Zegler is being unfairly blamed for issues that started long before she stepped in front of the camera. They argue that corporate missteps, not her interviews, are to blame. On the other hand, critics say her public comments were reckless, igniting much of the negative press, and that accountability is necessary for someone in her position. In the end, her silence speaks volumes. Whether it's a strategic pause or an emotional retreat, her absence from the spotlight is impossible to ignore. The longer she stays away, the more speculation grows. With every passing day, public curiosity intensifies. Her next move will likely define not just her career trajectory, but how this entire controversy will be remembered. So, what do you think? Is Zegler hiding something, or is she just trying to survive a PR nightmare? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. And if you want the latest updates on Hollywood's biggest scandals and celebrity drama, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell. This one's only just getting started.